Last time on the breakdown, we had a really fun, really high-level hand between Dan Smith and some other guy.
Federholtz?
Findor?
Close enough.
Filbor Holtens. I can't say the name.
There were some issues with the name pronunciation.
I suppose it's Feder?
Yes.
Feder? Okay. Not Feeder.
No.
Okay. Anyway, it was a hand in the heads-up portion of the one drop where Dan Smith ended up making a 2x pot bluff on the river. It's really cool. If you want to see that, click right up there, then come right back right here.
Yep, because now we're going to talk about our favorite comments from you. Also, by the way, these are our comments, but there's bonus comments on our podcast version of this. There's 3 other comments, not these comments. If you want to hear more, you comment, we respond.
Who doesn't?
Everyone does. All right, let's get into it though, shall we? I Eat Squirrels V1, which I think means version 1. Now
They Eat Squirrels.
Version 1.
Version
V1.
1.
So the question is this person version 1 of someone who eats squirrels, or do they only eat squirrels that are the first version of squirrels?
Is version 2 going to be better at eating squirrels or eat a better animal than squirrels?
That's my question.
That's a good question.
That's my question. But here's what that person says.
Okay.
Please just say Fedor and not feeder. It's so painful. To which Marvin Nash responds, it is both wrong. Marvin Nash, we did a little bit of research. It seems like you are correct. It's actually
Feder.
Feder, right?
It's not
Feder.
it's not Fedor. It's not Feeder.
It's Feder, like Feder cheese. Like the Greeks love to put Feder cheese on everything. Feder. Okay. So now we know. We certainly apologize to Feder. You're really good at poker. Okay. Shall we move on?
Yeah.
All right. Just acknowledging we don't know how to say his name.
Yeah.
All right. Simon R says, if you have a bluff and Feder has a lot of aces, wouldn't it be a check raise? Sorry, if you have a flush. Did I say flush?
Yeah. You said bluff.
Well, I'm going to say flush this time. If you have a flush and Feder has a lot of aces, wouldn't it be a check raise? Feder will be betting with all of his aces, so your bluff should be played the same way.
I mean, that's kind of interesting.
It's interesting, however, would you get more value that way or just by setting the price yourself?
I think you would get more value by setting the price yourself.
Me too.
That's the real question here, because if Federer's going to bet his ace if Dan Smith checks, it's usually going to be not a crazy 2x pot bet.
No, you're trying to get value out of two pair of hands and things like that.
Maybe even going to be like a third of the pot. And then
small.
He's likely going to fold if Dan Smith raises, because then Dan Smith is repping massive value.
Yeah.
He's definitely repping about the same value he would with a 2x pot bet,
I would argue that. Yeah, he's repping a flush.
So if Dan Smith were to have a flush, he would probably be best getting value by betting this big, I guess, unless Federer folds.
When Federer folds, maybe not so much, right? So that is the fair question.
The expected value actually might be similar because of the times Federer folds to the 11 million chip bet. But that said, it doesn't seem like a big mistake to bet this way.
Oh no, I think it's preferable, but I acknowledge this is an interesting way to play it. And maybe you should play it this way some of the time too, just to throw Federer off a little bit.
It's an interesting idea.
All right, finally, Camarison says, what happens if Federer has the 6 of clubs instead of the 7 of clubs? What that means, of course, is what if Federer has a 6 high straight instead of the ace low straights, or the wheel?
I think it's effectively the same thing. It really feels a lot like the same thing because the relative value is very similar.
Yeah.
Maybe sometimes, and we speculated about this more in our podcast than our video last week, maybe sometimes Dan Smith does this for value with a 6. That's possible, but it's a slam dunk with a flush, and a 6 is really questionable.
I mean, the one thing I can think of is Federer might think, well, the ace low flush, the wheel is straight. I said flush.
It's a straight.
I'm really getting the flush thing wrong today. Bluff, straight. Anyway, the wheel is a bluff catcher. A 6 is also a bluff catcher. So maybe we could decide we're only going to call with some of our bluff catchers and our better bluff catchers.
Yeah, maybe he decides just because of the difference in the distribution of his range that he should call with a 6, but his relative value against Dan Smith's represented hand doesn't seem that different at all.
No, it really doesn't. And the other problem with this, of course, is it's not that often that Federer's going to have a 6 comparatively to an ace.
Yeah.
He's going to have a lot more aces than 6s for sure.
He definitely is.